Hello and welcome to Mind Your Own Retirement, a podcast of YourLifeChoices.com.au, and we have the publisher of Your Life Choices with us, and that's Kaye. A very big hello to you, Miss Kaye.
And a big hello right back at you.
It's me, John Deeks, with Kaye right through this podcast, and it's great to have your company. We are enjoying all the feedback that we're getting, and we always like to say at the bottom.
Yes, on the page
if you'd like to sign on your bottom.
Is. Sign your bottom.
Yeah.
No, sign on the bottom of the page.
That's right, and tell us your comments, and also things you might like to hear about.
Exactly. So we're getting quite a lot of suggestions, John, from people who are enjoying the podcast, and they do seem to zero back in on practical money information, on health tips from experts, which we have lots of, and, of course, travel, how to have more affordable travel.
We're going to be covering all of that and so much more, Kaye.
Exactly.
So stick with us, folks. We're going to be talking money. We are going to be talking health and talking travel. You know, the package holidays you see in the press and other places. Are they too good to be true? We have somebody who's an expert on all of that. Brendan Sawyers, the general manager of Webjet Exclusives, to give you the true lowdown.
The real picture.
Yeah, when it's sort of like normally $5,000, but for you it's $500. You think, hello.
Well, I often think...
Does that include a seat on the plane?
Isn't that just the airfare?
Yes.
What's the catch?
So Brendan is the man to tell us if there are any catches. Also, we're going to talk about your art. How's your heart? You've got a big heart.
Oh, that's kind.
You do have a big heart. That's what people say about you behind your back.
Oh, I like it.
It's true.
I like it. But we have to keep our hearts in good shape. And it seems that what you can and can't eat has changed again.
Oh, every hour. Well, remember, you like cholesterol was bad, and cholesterol is bad, but there are certain fats that are good, certain fats that aren't good.
Yep.
You could eat this, but you can't eat that.
Coffee in,
now, the
coffee out.
The only thing that we know for sure, I reckon, is that smoking is bad.
Yes.
Drinking too much alcohol is bad too.
Yes.
Apparently.
But I just think coffee and bacon seem to be the yo-yo
Yeah,
foods.
they're death, apparently.
Are they?
Isn't it the free radicals?
I thought coffee was good for you.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Who knows?
I've got to keep up with. That's why I've got to keep listening to Mind Your Own Retirement, I guess.
Well, Sian, who's from the Heart Foundation, is going to set us straight here.
Oh, Sian will know, absolutely.
She will.
And coming up next, we're going to talk about money and talking about confidence, talking about how confident you are with your money. We're going to talk about that right after this, here on Mind Your Own Retirement, a podcast of Your Life Choices. Money, money, money. Thinking of ABBA songs and thinking about it is one of the most important things. And as we get older, we can't get it wrong, Kaye, because there's not too many more chances left.
Well,
when we were young, we could have been young and foolish, but we have to be careful.
If only. I think life changes dramatically when you stop having the ability to earn more money if you make a mistake. So
that's what it is, yeah.
That's what you're saying to me. So you spend too much on your holiday and you think, okay, I'll go back to work and I'll work harder and it'll fix itself up.
But at a certain age.
Now,
you've done a survey at Your Life Choices.
We have. We partnered with Challenger. And the survey was called Ensuring Financial Security in Retirement. It has revealed a lot of financial discomfort.
How say you?
How say you? So what we found out is most retirees are actually most concerned about running out of money. And only 11% of the 3,500 we surveyed said they were confident their money would last.
Can I have that survey result again? How many?
11%.
11%
were confident.
Wow.
That's low.
It is low.
Yeah.
Can you give me some more details as we dig down into that survey? Where was their fear? That the share market was going to crash, their super, whatever?
So, as you know, at Your Life Choices, we talk essentially about 3 retirement tribes: the affluents, couples and singles, own home, self-funded. We talk about constrained, couples and singles, own home, full or part age pension. And then we say there are people who are cash-strapped, literally, couples and singles on full or part age pension renting. And interestingly, for each of the three groups, what they were worried about was very different.
How does it vary across the tribes?
So the affluent tribes were most worried about the first thing you said, a fall in the share market. So obviously there's excess funds there over and above super. Retirement income streams are coming from the stock market, and of course there's been quite a slide in the past few weeks, and it's volatile. The constrained tribes, so those on a full or part pension but in their own home, are most worried about outliving their savings. So it's a different point of view. So the affluents
What a terrible thing to have to worry about, isn't it? I mean, you know.
Well, I hate the thought of worry about money because I think it eats away at you.
It does, and at that age, so many people have got pains and they are in pain or whatever, and to have that as well.
And we'll talk later on, of course, about affording health insurance. So there's a lot of calls on your income in retirement. I mean, life doesn't stop and it's all about tea and biscuits. The household expenses march on. The other tribe, the cash-strapped, so people who are renting, are very worried about having money on hand for an emergency. So if something happens that is not expected or planned, they're feeling they're not well supported, that they can simply put on the
Lay
credit
their hands
card.
on some cash to pay for an unexpected.
Exactly. So it's sounding like a lot of doom and gloom, but should I introduce some good news?
Please.
So the finding that the very smart actuary at Challenger found for us in amongst all these responses was that the power of experience was really important. And older retirees are more likely to feel confident about their financial situation than just retired or newer retirees.
Why is that?
They seem to have got their act together. Maybe they've learned how to live to a budget. That's a maybe there. But maybe the point is they've adapted their lifestyle to go for the long haul.
Okay. As Mum would say, cut your cloth to suit your whatever.
Coat.
Thank you.
You've got it. You've got it. And there was another finding in there that was pretty interesting, which is that people who spend consistently, meaning, and we spoke to Jeremy, the expert at Challenger, about this, but people who are very disciplined and regular in their spending seem to get more confidence from that than people who splurge, then pull back. And I know it sounds like common sense, but when it comes to retirement income, I don't think we can hear enough of what we need to know.
What information is there on Your Life Choices that people can go to and see which tribe they're in?
So what they can do is simply look on the podcast page, John, and they'll see a link to this report.
Excellent.
What they will also see is a link to a Challenger report called Guide to a Happy Retirement, which actually covers a lot of the things we talk about in a user-friendly way.
Just don't talk about it. Just don't worry about it. Do something about it. Go to Your Life Choices where you are right now, where you found the podcast, and search for that information, and it may give you a bit of solace and calm your worry down by at least doing something proactive.
Well, I think we know information is power. So more information about how the tribes spend, what's typical, and what you can do to save on household expenses, it's not going to hurt, is it?
Coming up next, we're going to be talking about health, your heart. We're speaking to an expert. I love the word an expert, but she really is an expert. From the Heart Foundation, the dietitian, Sian Armstrong, is up next on Mind Your Own Retirement, a podcast of Your Life Choices. Folks, I'd like to talk to you about Your Life Choices Pension Checker. Now, this is an easy-to-use financial tool that allows you to calculate exactly how much you should be receiving in fortnightly pension payments and supplements. It's very well priced at just $29.95 per year. Visit pensionchecker.com.au and make today the day you take control of your income with Your Life Choices Pension Checker. Mind Your Own Retirement is where you are, the podcast of YourLifeChoices.com.au, simplifying your retirement. And we like to talk health. And Kaye, we have someone very special on the phone.
We do. We're lucky enough to be joined by a dietitian from the Heart Foundation, Sian Armstrong.
Hello, Sian.
Hello.
Welcome to you. We were talking before we came on air that it seems every couple of months we find out something we thought was bad for us is in fact okay for us, and other things we thought were okay are in fact bad for us.
Yeah, so I mean it can seem that way sometimes, but nutrition is an evolving science, so there's always new papers coming out, there's new research coming out constantly. So from a Heart Foundation perspective, we decided to look at all the evidence that we have available over the last 5 to 10 years and do a really thorough review of this evidence so that we could update and refresh our healthy eating recommendations.
Brilliant. So, Sian, did you look at all food groups or did you concentrate on the main ones?
We specifically, with this review, we looked at meat, eggs and dairy as these were sort of controversial and topics where we knew that there was a lot of new evidence coming out. So they're the three we focused on at this point.
Okay, so should I be eating meat? Is dairy okay? And how are eggs?
Okay, so we do have...
Or is it like my mum always said, everything in moderation?
It's a bit like that. So when it comes to eggs, for the general healthy population, we have removed our limit on the amount of eggs that you can have per week. So we're no longer recommending just 6 to 7 eggs per week for the healthy
I guess that also could be like poached eggs as opposed to maybe fried eggs.
Yeah, really.
I'm saying fried being a dirty word.
Really, it's sort of more about what you have the eggs with. So we'd prefer you have your eggs with, spinach or on a grainy bread and some mushrooms or roast tomatoes, rather than having your eggs as part of a bacon and egg sandwich or, with hash browns. So from our perspective, whether you choose to poach them or scramble them, that's up to you. But really, it's about what you pair them with.
Okay, so following on from eggs, limitless, where has your research taken you with dairy, Sian?
Sure, and I'll just quickly put a little caveat on the eggs, is that we still have kept our limit for certain populations. So for people that have existing heart disease or high blood cholesterol or type 2 diabetes, for those groups we do still recommend having less than 7 eggs a week.
Okay, well, that's an important piece of information. Thank you.
Sorry, was it dairy that you asked?
Sure.
Yes, so dairy. Okay, so we've now made our recommendation to include unflavoured, either full-fat or reduced-fat milk, yogurt and cheese.
Okay.
So, yeah, we used to recommend just the reduced-fat varieties, but we've now included full-fat as well. So it's up to you which one you'd prefer.
How about my lamb chops?
Yeah, so when it comes to red meat, we have actually now put a limit on the amount of red meat that we recommend you have per week. So we're saying to have less than 350 grams of red meat, and that works out to be around between 1 to 3 red meat meals a week.
Okay. What about salmon? I go to Aldi and I can get the salmon that's frozen, and I like to cook that up.
Yeah, salmon's actually so that's one of our preferred sources of protein. So things like fish and seafood, or otherwise the plant-based proteins, so things like beans and lentils and chickpeas, that's what we actually encourage people to have more of, because we know they're really good for you.
I guess it's that old pyramid thing, isn't it?
Yes, somewhat. We sort of just, we do prefer people have the plant-based or fish and seafood-based proteins. We know that they can be really good for you and protect your heart from heart disease.
So, Sian, because our audience is baby boomers, so we're talking, 55 plus, have you got any specific nutshell advice for older Australians?
Yeah, so keeping in mind this is for healthy Australians, so people that don't have existing heart disease. Yeah, we would really recommend people try and base their eating mostly on plant-based foods, so things like fruit, vegetables, and whole grains, and again the fish and the seafood as well. And then trying to have smaller amounts of the animal-based products, and again limiting your junk food, so less of the highly processed junk foods and more of the plant-based products.
Okie dokie. And we would like to put on the website some further information from the Heart Foundation. So do you have some kind of infographic or some smart rules for older Australians?
I'm not sure we do have an infographic at this point, but if you do go, or if you want to link to
What's
the
an
Heart...
infographic?
It's a picture that tells 1,000 words, you know.
Like that
it's
photo
not a
you saw of me.
cartoon.
And you said, picture tells 1,000 words.
Yeah.
So I'm 68. Am I likely to have a heart attack?
Oh.
Well, that depends on a number of factors.
Well, how do I know, Sian? I want to know now.
Well, what we'd really
You're the
encourage
Heart
you to-
Foundation people. You should know. Look at
Yeah,
me.
well, what we'd encourage you to do is get a heart health check with your doctor. That's the best thing to do for everyone.
Okay, so go to your local GP, ask for the heart health check, which would obviously would have all the parameters of, do you smoke, do you exercise, what do you eat, your weight, blah, blah, blah. All the things that my doctor wiggles his finger at me saying, just lose a bit of weight, do this and do that.
So John was saying before, Sian, even though sometimes things are counted in and counted out or the portions vary, the non-negotiables do seem to be around smoking and alcohol consumption, the amount.
And no
is that
exercise
correct?
too, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so things like not smoking and being physically active and eating more fruit and vegetables and sort of reducing your alcohol consumption, they haven't changed at all. So they're definitely great ways to make sure that you're keeping your heart healthy.
That is fantastic advice. And on behalf of our 230,000 members, I'm saying thank you. We'll
And me.
And John is saying thank you. He's feeling reassured.
Great. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sian. And if you'd like to know more information, Kaye?
Just go to YourLifeChoices.com.au. We will link across to Heart Foundation information and remind people about the heart health check.
Sian Armstrong, the Heart Foundation dietitian, thank you so much for giving up your time on Mind Your Own Retirement.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Mind Your Own Retirement. And it's time to talk travel. That's something we love to do, don't we? We love to talk travel.
It seems to be the number one gift to yourself in retirement, John.
Brendan Sawyers is the General Manager of Webjet Exclusives. Now, Brendan has over 17 years' experience in the travel industry, specialising in flights, hotels, car hire, tour operations and so much more. He's worked across major travel brands and is now the General Manager of Webjet. And if you want a good deal, always go to Webjet. And Brendan's on the line. Hiya, Brendan.
Very well. How are you guys?
We're doing fine, thank you. We're doing fine. We were talking earlier about all the deals we see in the paper and other places where take this tour and it's normally $5,000, but it's yours for $1,500. And Kaye and I are thinking, does that include like actually flying, or do you get a bus to India, or what's the deal? So we were wondering, is everything as good as it seems to be when it comes to a deal? How do we know what we're going to get?
Yeah, look, I think the simple answer is, what you see is what you get. I think the devil, though, can be in the detail, and I think that's a really valid point that you make when you're certainly looking at some of the providers and ourselves included with, what's included and what isn't. And that does start, I think, and you sort of alluded to it, it starts with who you're flying with. It's a really simple thing, I think, but if you don't know who you're flying with, or it can be one of 20 carriers because it hasn't been called out specifically who you're travelling with, then, straight away that causes a seed of doubt. So that's really important, who you're flying with. And then when you're over there, it's having a look at inclusions. How many meals are included, what activities are included, what's an optional extra that you might pay locally. And I think typically a good rule of thumb is, the more that you're probably paying on your holiday, the more you're going to have included. So, I think that what the internet's done, it's made that very transparent, perhaps from, 10 or 15 years ago where it was a bit grey at times. So I think that's probably aided the success over the last few years of this market.
Brendan, here's a question about inclusions, because I'm one of those annoying travellers who thinks they're an independent traveller, and I sometimes don't want to be overly stitched up at a resort having every meal there. So for me, an inclusion might become a negative because I think that my flexibility's gone.
Yeah, I think the way we approach inclusions, and particularly in a resort sense, if you're somewhere isolated, so the Maldives would be a great example where you don't have any choices. When you're on that particular island and you're in that resort, you're confined to the facilities there. And so what we do, I guess, behind the scenes is really try and negotiate a great value price to have those inclusions there. I guess to take it down another path, if you look at Canada, though, for example, or perhaps China, ideally we love customers to get out and explore where they are by not having every meal included. And so whilst there's a market for those that want everything included and prescribed, we typically find that most of our customers outside of isolated resorts prefer to be able to go and explore, where they are in the world.
Now, this leads us to the next question. You're crafting these packages.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do it at such a low rate?
Wait a minute. We buy in bulk and pass the savings on to you, the customer. Yeah?
Is that right?
Oh, look, that's a pretty significant element of it. If you've got, 10,000 customers, over to a certain destination, that certainly has its appeal to the supplier partners we work with. But there's so many elements to it. If you look at China, for example, as a destination, and the Chinese carriers, so many of them are operating brand new aircraft that are 30 or 40% more efficient with things like fuel. So it's the devil's in the detail, but they can really pass on a lot more affordable airfares. Tourism body and government subsidies really play a significant role behind the scenes as well to allow the operators to enter markets, at a really competitive level. And then, I think beyond that, a lot of it comes to the time of travel that you're visiting a destination. I think that's a really important point to really assess, what we might call low season. Is it actually a sensible time to go to a particular destination? So for me, I don't know that I'd be cruising the Mediterranean in January or February just because it was $1,000 cheaper. So that travel period's a really important part to consider as well.
Brendan, a lot of our Your Life Choices members travel as single travellers. Tell me about some of the tips you might like to give those people.
Yeah, I think it sounds obvious, but I think working out whether or not you're comfortable sharing accommodation is pretty key. Typically, we don't do that because we find most of our customers like their own space, in the sense they might like their own room or their own cabin on a ship. But, I think touring is an amazing opportunity to socialise and, my old man would fit the bill there because my mum's not around anymore and, he loves that opportunity to socialise, with groups, and whether that's a group of 20, 30 or 40. I think that's the most enjoyable part of it. In terms of consideration, I think inherently if you're travelling solo, there are the extra costs because you don't get to, necessarily share the cost of a room or a cabin. So that's an inherent danger of travelling by yourself. But the other side we see as well is a lot of individual travellers, may have a partner, but they'll leave them behind because there's different preferences, different desires. Some love travelling, some don't. We see that a lot in the Middle East, actually, with us. We find a lot of our customers are actually solo travellers because their partners might not be that excited to head over to that part of the world.
Brendan, the broader Webjet brand, which has been around now, I'm going to guess, maybe 15 or more years.
21 this year.
Wow.
Happy birthday.
I feel older than 21.
It's clearly feeding in the expertise around all the things you've spoken about, around the time to go, the carriers who are going to offer the best experience at the price and so on. So is that where you think you've got an edge?
Look, absolutely. We're very, very fortunate, Webjet as a group and organisation, to have a large reach, and with that comes a lot of information, a lot of data, that word everyone banties around. And that gives us some great insights as to, what's happening right here, right now, but even, looking ahead in terms of what's next. So, the business overall has grown phenomenally, as probably most Australians would know. And I think, that we're in a phase now where we're not so much the faceless men of the internet. We do have a personalised touch, and, we do show a great level of customer care through what we do. And I think that's been, our progression more recently.
Brendan, before we let you go, what are the top 5 bucket list destinations of the typical Your Life Choices members?
Yeah. Canada, Alaska is always at the top of the list. West Coast, but even East Coast is coming into the mix now, which is a phenomenal part of the world. Definitely the Middle East. If you haven't done that, Egypt and Jordan in particular, amazing, like nowhere else on earth. China, affordable, lots of options, and if you're looking for a cheaper second holiday maybe in the year, definitely one of our most popular destinations. And then Switzerland, it's been something that's really emerged for us in the last year or two, making that a bit easier to get around that phenomenal rail network and through Switzerland. And lastly, I'd say Sri Lanka, which I just got back from a couple of weeks ago. We all know what happened back in April was terrible, but it was so nice to see things getting back to normal, and again, great value, a couple of weeks, and similar size to Tasmania, so you can see it all in 2 weeks.
Fantastic suggestions for our members. So to help people who are interested in exploring those must-sees, what we'll do is put on our website links to Webjet Exclusives for each of those destinations, and then you'll ring us and say thank you the week later. Yeah?
Sounds like a great idea. I love it.
Thank you very much indeed, Brendan Sawyers, the General Manager of Webjet Exclusives. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, Kaye, what an interesting podcast on Mind Your Retirement we've had, talking financial, health and lovely travel.
I think we've covered the waterfront here, John.
Do you have a nugget to leave us with?
Always. You know me. I can't help myself. Here I go.
You're the nugget lady.
So this is something I found that I think is really handy, and it's an app, right? So it's for your smartphone.
Yeah.
And because we've recently had Medicine Wise Week, it's a Medicine Wise app that's perfect for people who take more than one medication. So it allows you on your phone to create a list of medicines, scan the barcodes of the medicines, record health information, set reminders so you don't forget to take whatever it is, and access further information. You can share this with your nearest and dearest, and if you had an unexpected hospital visit or something, you don't need to worry that you're not going to remember.
I forgot what I'm taking. What are you taking? What are you taking, dear?
Yeah.
Oh, it's true.
You get it. You get it.
Yeah, absolutely do. So what's it called?
Medicine Wise app. We will put up a link to that on our website, on the podcast page. I think it's the handiest thing since sliced bread.
Kaye, thanks for your time again today. We've enjoyed it very much indeed, and I hope our listeners have as well.
Thank you, John.
You've been listening to Mind Your Own Retirement, a podcast of YourLifeChoices.com.au, simplifying retirement. We'll see you next time.